Hello there, this is TP8017 and this is the bit of the look at some games that come out in May, last month. This one's been a little bit delayed, but yeah, so I'm recording it and we'll get it up tonight. So with that being said, May was a very interesting month for games. We had quite a few little titles here. The ones you see here, they're all received over 1,000 positive reviews. So let's start, shall we? So first up we have the Mr. Rabbit Magic Show by Rusty Lake. This is a point-and-click adventure / puzzle title featuring the mysterious Mr. Rabbit. You can see on the in the bottom left corner there, and a variety of magical acts. It was released to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Rusty Lake. So let's have a look at the trailer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mr. Rabbit Magic Show. Awe-inspiring, mystifying, high-flying, death-defying. There's no denying it's the best way to celebrate 10 years of Rusty Lake. Get your tickets now.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a shorter little trailer, that one, but so it's available for Windows and Mac, iOS and Android. It's free. System requirements, you really shouldn't have to worry about them, to be honest. Windows 7, 8, 10, 2.4 GHz CPU, 1 GB RAM, DirectX time capable GPU. On the Mac side, Mac OS 11 Big Sur, 2 GHz Intel Core i5, 400 MB RAM, 200 MB of free space. I mean, any computer should be able to run it, at least in the past, I don't know, 15 years, probably even further back. Okay, let's continue on. Ratopia by Cassel Games. This one entered early access in November 2023. I think I covered it at the time. So it's now left early access. Very solid little 2D city builder with a range of policies to implement. You can expand your city, explore old ruins, and escape or fight off predators. Also a bit of a tech tree you can see down there. It's done really quite well for itself. So let's have a look. Yes, a very interesting little title. So it's for Windows and Mac, Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S, $22 US. System requirements are Windows 7, 8 or 10, 64-bit, although I assume 11 would work as well. 2.4 GHz CPU, 4 GB of RAM, 512 MB graphics card, and 2 GB of free space. So really should be able to run on pretty much anything. Pretty much just similar on the Mac side, except you swap out Windows for Mac. And yeah, so let's continue on, shall we? Rhythm Witch, Beat Death by Dusklight Co. Limited. Sorry. This is a rhythm roguelike. You fight against monsters to the beats of the music. While acquiring skills and equipment, you help the young witch / necromancer achieve her dream of immortality and eternal youth. Yeah, so also did quite well. So let's have a look. Sorry, the question's been asked on the discussion board on Steam. The music is officially licensed by I've forgotten their name, but it's officially licensed. So Windows Mac, $5.99 US. System requirements: Windows 10, 64-bit, Intel 6th Gen i5 or AMD Ryzen 3 1200, 8GB RAM. Graphics, well, pretty much just need a graphics card, to be honest. The ones that are pretty old at the moment. And 2GB of free space. Mac side, pretty similar, just have the Mac that works. And, well, yes, so let's continue on. Maltese's Fluffy Onsen by Sinkhole Studio. This one's had a couple of name changes in the past couple of months, so I've got them named as well. This is a little simulation game. It sits at the bottom of your screen. There's a number of different animals that visit your spa / onsen, and you're able to serve them different food and drinks, catered to the needs, and you basically expand the spa. So, yeah, let's have a look at the trailer. Yeah, so that one's for Windows and Mac, $5.99 US. System requirements: Windows 10, Intel Core i3, 3.2 GHz, 4GB RAM, DirectX 9 supported GPU, 256 MB of free space. You shouldn't have to worry about it. On the Mac side, pretty similar. Mac OS 11 Big Sur, Intel Core i3, 2.6 GHz, 4GB RAM, 256 MB of free space. So, let's continue on. TriZon by Ling. This is a roguelike deck builder, auto battler, with card merging, various spells to cast, and anime girls as well. There's a couple of little shortcomings, a couple of little translation errors and the like, but it's his first game, I believe, so it's still well worth a look. So let's have a look at the trailer, shall we? Rightio, so that's for Windows and Mac, $8.99 on US. System requirements, they're not really given, but Windows 10, 2GB of RAM, and Mac OS. But so the trailer there is in Chinese, but I'm pretty sure the languages support English, simplified and traditional Chinese and Japanese. So yes. Okay. Preserved by Bitmap Galaxy. This one is at early access in August 2024. So it's a pretty peaceful nature-themed puzzle/card game. You're able to place plants and animals across different hex-based biomes such as tropical forest, savannas, the Arctic. They added the new Jurassic biome as part of their release, as part of their launch. So let's have a look. Yeah, so that one did pretty well for itself, picked up a few awards, and yes, so. Now, this one, I actually had to downscale the trailer. Bit unusual, but the original one was, I think it was about over 2 gigs in size, so yeah. First off, I had to do it. So, platforms, on quite a few: Windows, Mac, Linux, Xbox One, Xbox X and S, PS4, PS5 and the Switch. $12.49 US. System requirements: Windows 10 or Ubuntu LTS, 2 GHz dual core CPU, 8 gigs RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 750 or an AMD Radeon HD 7770 or an Intel HD Graphics 5000. They're pretty old at this point, so you shouldn't have any trouble. And 1 to 2 GB of read space. On the Mac side, Mac OS 11 Big Sur, Apple M1 or Intel Core M, 8 GB RAM, and 2 GB of free space. So, yeah, once again, you shouldn't have any trouble running it. So, next up, A Webbing Journey by Fire Totem Games. This one entered early access last month, done very well for itself so far. It's a very charming sandbox spider simulator where you complete various tasks, interact with a variety of objects. There's currently 3 rooms, and expected to be in early access for at least a year. Yeah, so it's done quite well for itself. Definitely worth having a look at the trailer, which we'll start now.
Welcome to A Webbing Journey. a physics sandbox game about a tiny spider with big dreams. This adorable 8-legged critter is on a mission to help their favorite humans around the house. You might be small, but there's no task too big when you can weave, spin, and create intricate webs. Explore oversized rooms full of delightful surprises, and accomplish a list of tasks, from simple chores to crazy skill-testing challenges. Bake cookies, tidy up a messy room, print important documents in the office, and maybe even catch a thief. With enough creativity, there's nothing you can't achieve. In a webbing journey, the whole house is your playground, and the only limits are your imagination.
So that's our webbing journey, Windows, Mac, Linux, $7.99 US. Currently anyway, so Windows 10 or Ubuntu 20.04, Intel Core i5 6400 or an AMD Ryzen 3 1200, 8GB RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060 or an AMD Radeon RX 580 and 2GB of free space. So yeah, not too bad. Mac side, macOS 10.15 Catalina, Apple M1 or an Intel Core i5 6th Gen, which again, yeah, not too bad. 8GB RAM, Intel Iris Pro or AMD Radeon R9 370X and 2GB of free space. So you shouldn't have any trouble running it as well. Hope it's out quite a bit this video. Anyway, let's continue on. Bioprototype. Developed by Emprom Games. This one previously came out on Steam a couple of years ago, but it was moved because of a issue with the publisher, not the developers, the publisher. Just to clarify. So since they've re-released it, putting it back on the list. So it's a roguelike survival-like, 24 different classes, 80 different upgrades, which affect various parts of your creation. There's a little bit of programming there as well, I believe. I remember seeing quite a few ads for it a couple of years back. So let's have a look at the trailer. So that's Bioprototype. Sorry. I've had to upscale the trailer in case you're wondering the quality was a bit low. So yeah, there was a slight name change. So you've probably seen the couple of different logos there. Bioprototype and Bio-Prototype. So at the moment it's on Windows and Mac and the Switch. There was an Android version. I tried to find it and couldn't, so not sure. Now, the price, it's being given away for free at the moment, but they'll be giving it but it'll get a price in early July, I believe. So you've got a few more days to go at the time of recording. System requirements: Windows 10 64-bit, Intel Core i3 or AMD FX 8350, 4GB RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 580 or AMD HD 7870 and 2GB of free space. On the Mac side, macOS 14, not sure what that is off the top of my head. Apple M1 CPU, 1GB of free space. So, yeah, shouldn't have any trouble running it as well. Poco by Whalefall. This is a student project, but that was done for a team to be able to graduate from university. So, it's done really good, really well for itself. So it's a 2D/3D point-and-click adventure featuring Poco, the world's smallest clown. He has to find his way back to the circus after being banished. This is meeting some unusual characters along the way. So let's have a look. Yeah, so hopefully I don't get copyright struck for that. So, there's the So, platforms, Windows and Mac. This one's free. There's been a couple of other student projects I've covered in the past. That were planning one. I remember that was one from last year. Anyway, Windows 7 64-bit. Sorry. 2 GHz CPU, 2 GB RAM, 1 GB free space. macOS 10.12, which I believe is Sierra. Intel 1.8 GHz CPU, 1 GB RAM, 1 GB free space. Yeah, so you shouldn't have any trouble running it. Okay, Duck Detective, The Ghost of Glamping, by Happy Broccoli Games. This is a comedy point-and-click detective title, featuring the duck detective on a camping trip, only for it to turn out to be haunted, as you do. There's fully voiced characters, plus a variety of evidence and deduction work to be able to complete. It's a very, very solid follow-up to last year's game. No, TriZon game. So, let's have a look.
You know, it's a duck-eat-duck world out there. I'm used to the cold embrace of loneliness, and this vacation will be the end of me.
Can you smell that fresh forest air, Mr. Duck Detective?
That area is not for guests. She's crazy.
How dare they vandalize my tent!
I'm not a superstitious duck by any means, but believing in ghosts will only lead them to haunt you.
But I'm telling you, this place is haunted.
It was time to do some snooping.
What if something happens to my son?
Are those bread slices?
Duck Detective.
The ghost of glamping!
Yeah, so it's available on quite a few platforms, as you can see. Windows, Mac, Linux, Xbox One and Xbox X and S, PS5 and the Switch. $9.99 US. System requirements shouldn't have a trouble running it. Sorry, Windows 7, Service Pack 1, 10 or 11, or Ubuntu 20.04 or CentOS 7. CPU basically x86 or x64 architecture with SSD2 support, which is basically all of them in the last 20 years. 2 GB of RAM. GPU DirectX 10, 11 or 12 support, or OpenGL 3.2 support, which is again similar lines, and 700 megabytes of free space. Next side, macOS 10.13 or Sierra, Apple Silicon or x86 architecture with SSD2 support, 2 gigs of RAM, 700 megabytes of free space. Well worth having a look at. So let's continue on. And next up is another detective title, Kathy Rain 2 Soothsayer by Clifftop Games. A point-and-click detective thriller. This is the sequel to 2016 / last year's Kathy Rain. It originally came out in 2016, but received a re-released version in last year. So, where our heroine has to solve the case of the Soothsayer, who is a serial killer terrorizing the residents of the city. It's a very, very pretty little thing. Again, also well worth a look. It's been a good month for detective titles. And I'm out of coffee, so that's why I'm stuttering. So, let's have a look at the trailer.
Rain Investigations. My sanctuary. The place I worked so hard for and am on the verge of losing. The Soothsayer. A vicious serial killer with a life-changing bounty on their head. They say there's no such thing as a free lunch. They were right.
Wow. What a wild case.
You don't recognize me, do you?
You're in a bad way, and I won't help you get yourself killed.
That creepy motherfucker got the whole town on edge, don't he?
I will kill you myself.
Right. So, Windows Mac Linux, $19.99 US. Windows 10 64-bit or Ubuntu 20.04 or CentOS 7. Intel Core i7 6th Gen or x86 architecture with SSD2 support. 8 GB RAM. Intel HD Graphics 520 or mobile AMD Radeon R7 M340. Or OpenGL 3.2 or Vulkan compatible graphics card, which you shouldn't have to worry about that, and 2 GB free space. Mac side pretty similar, macOS 10.13 or Sierra, Intel or Apple CPU, 2 GB RAM, metal capable Intel or AMD GPU, and 2 GB of free space. Moving on, Time Space Rebuild by Innovation Dream. So, this is a FMV racing sim with a time travel theme. Humanity's on the brink of doomsday. There's, you have to go back in time to hopefully save them. And there's interesting humans meet as well. So there's currently 4 chapters available. 5 to 11 are to be released later on as free downloads, I believe. That's what the developers said. So, now there has been our used. You can see it with the English voices. It's a bit unfortunate, but let's have a look.
Is there really a doomsday?
If you could go back, could you rebuild the future?
Onsen! It's not just about the doomsday. You're the key to saving the world. Come with me. Protect yourself.
How should you choose at a turning point in fate?
Seems like you're a coward.
Truth and lies are interwoven.
Reducing no doubt. Muslims.
hero who saves the world.
Ta-da! Surprise!
So I've actually covered quite a few of these fairly recently. I think this is probably about the seventh I've mentioned this year. So platforms: Windows and Mac, iOS and Android. Now, a couple of platforms you don't see very often. It's going to be releases for the Horizon operating system, which is the Meta headsets or Facebook headsets, and the Apple Vision Pro. They've been announced as getting this game as well on the developers website. So $16.99 US. System requirements. Their system requirements usually not too bad, except for the space. So Windows 10, Intel Core i3 or an AMD equivalent, 2 gigs RAM, Intel UHD graphics 730, and 15 gigabytes of free space. Similar on the Mac side, macOS 10.12, Sierra, Intel Core i3 or an AMD equivalent, 4 gigs RAM, Intel HD graphics 630 or an Apple M1, and 15 gigabytes of free space. So just be bit careful about the free space needed. Catgirl by Sissy Girl. So this is a small RPG / rhythm game made by a 3-man team, including the musician Sissy Girl, about a missing dog and the weird and wonderful adventure that results. Very quirky little thing. So let's have a look. Yeah, so Windows and Mac is free. I intend to have a look at it myself. System requirements are so Windows Vista or later, 2 GHz CPU, 2 gigs RAM, 128 MB graphics card, 200 MB of free space. Basically the same on the Mac side, just Windows for Mac. You shouldn't have any trouble running it. It's basically a can you watch this video kind of thing. So let's continue on. Nine Kings by Sad Socket. Entered early access in May 2025. Card-based roguelike kingdom builder and battler. 9 kings to choose from, as well as a variety of units like knights, imps, mushrooms, as well as buildings and spells to build and using as your fire respectively. Expected to be in early access for about a year. It's done really quite well. I think it had about 4,000 positive reviews when I was putting this together, so let's have a look. Rightio, so this is currently for Windows and Mac, $14.99 US. System requirements are Windows 10, 64-bit, Intel Core i5 750, or AMD Phenom 2 X4, 4 gigs RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GT 630, or AMD Radeon HD 6670, and 1200 megabytes of free space. And that's the same on the Mac side as well, so you shouldn't have to worry about being able to run it or not. So let's continue on. Kabuto Park by Doot and Zakku. This is a short little bug collector and card-based battling game. It's 40 different insects to discover. Very charming little title. I've played one of Doot's games before on stream, February last year, I believe. So let's have a look. So that's Kabuto Park, platforms Windows, Mac, Linux, $4.99 US. System requirements, Windows 7, 10 or 11, or Ubuntu 20.04 or CentOS 7. CPU x86 or x64 architecture, 2 gigs RAM, integrated graphics, and 250 megabytes of free space. And similar on the Mac side, macOS 10.14 Mojave. Apple or x86 architecture with SSD2 support, 2 gigs RAM, Apple or integrated graphics, and 250 megabytes of free space. Right, continuing on. Miscrits, World of Creatures by Lightning Ball Studios. So, the original Miscrits was released on Facebook back in 2011. It lasted for about 6 years, but the Facebook games gradually declined in popularity, all of them, and yes, so a fan was able to get the rights to it, has hired on a few of the original developers, and so this is the revival. He's planning to add the content from the original Miscrits as well as new content as well. This was, I think it was definitely in the top 5 for the largest properties on Facebook, so it did really well. So let's have a look.
A world of mystery, adventure, and powerful creatures awaits. Explore vast lands, uncover secrets, capture legendary Miscrits, evolve them to unstoppable forms. Train your Miscrits. Battle in intense duels. Prove your skills against players worldwide. Darkness is rising. The adventure of a lifetime is here. Will you rise to the challenge? Are you ready? Join the fight today.
That was when it arrived on Steam. It actually released a little bit later than that, so yeah. Okay, so platforms, Windows, Mac, Linux, and Android. I'm not sure about a iOS release. So it's free. So system requirements, Windows 10 or Ubuntu 20.04. Debian 11 or Fedora 35. CPU, Intel Core i3 or an AMD Ryzen 3. 4 gigs RAM. OpenGL 3.3 compatible GPU. 500 megabytes of free space. So you shouldn't have any trouble on it. Similar on the Mac side, macOS 10.15 Catalina. Intel Core i3 or Apple M1/2/3 CPU, 4 gigs RAM, OpenGL 3.3 compatible GPU, 500 megabytes of free space. Now I think there's only a couple more to go, so let's continue on. Guilty as Sock by Demon Max. This is a quirky multiplayer title featuring sock puppets as lawyers, witnesses, and journalists, etc. Who can influence the trial by reporting, showing evidence, introducing witnesses, or throwing paper balls at each other, as you do. So let's have a look.
Is it rolling? All right. You lent your charger, but you never got it back. Your dog dropped a turd on the rug. Ghosted after they said, let's catch up soon. Suggestion! No more excuses. It's time for real justice.
Cut! That's the one!
Oh, those lunch burritos were a mistake.
Yeah, so I did a little told of that one. So, platforms, Windows and Mac, $5.49 US. That one's been calculated by me though, might be off by a couple of cents. System requirements are Windows 7, dual core 1.8 GHz CPU, 8 gigs RAM, integrated graphics, 1 GB free space. On the Mac side, macOS 10.11, which I believe is El Capitan, Apple M1 or M2, or a Intel Core i5, 8 gigs RAM, a dedicated graphics card, and 10 gigabytes free space. But I believe that might be a typo. So let's continue on. Farm Together 2 by Milkstone Games. Entered early access in May 2024, so it's just been just over a year. It's a cozy farming game, either by yourself or you can play with friends. There's a town to explore and so you produce to, customizable avatars and houses. There's events that go on. There was one a couple weeks ago. It's done pretty well for itself. So let's have a look. Rightio, so that's Farm Together 2. Currently available for Windows and Mac, but there are console releases being worked on, which is the Xbox One and Xbox X and S, the PS5 and the Switch. So it's $25.99 US. System requirements: Windows 7, 64-bit, dual-core CPU, 4 GB RAM, DirectX 11 capable GPU, and 2 GB free space. MacOS 10.13 or 0, Intel or Apple CPU, 4 GB RAM, metal capable GPU, and 2 GB free space. So you shouldn't have any trouble running it. I mean, it runs on the Switch. So, righto, honourable mentions. A couple this time. Best Served Cold by Rogueside is one on the left. Mix and serve drinks to your customers, from cops to crooks and all those in between. And solve a murder mystery, set kind of during the Prohibition period. It's a very interesting thing. And Blacksmith Master by Untitled Studio. It's an early access in May as well. So manage your own medieval forge, send workers to collect ore and wood, hire assistants to forge equipment, and deal with merchants, sell your wares, upgrade your foundry, all that kind of thing. So yes, they're the team that did Tavern Master. That was about 4 years ago, I believe. So that's it for this month. I'll try my best to make sure that the next video is out a bit earlier next month. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.